Welcome to the treatment room. Hi, Andy.
All right, Phil, how are you?
I'm good, mate. Yeah, I'm excited to be talking about marketing today with you. We've got some real stories to share, haven't we? And later on in this podcast, we're going to be talking about an upcoming webinar and also access to some great materials that we've produced as part of a package, which gives people a kind of an end-to-end view that we call our 10-step process. So we're looking forward to sharing a little bit more about that package a bit later on in the conversation.
Oh, definitely.
So the big question, I guess, Andy, is why on earth have we chosen marketing as a place to start?
Well, Phil, in my opinion, we've chosen it as a place to start on the basis where I think most businesses feel that it's the place to start. And which in my opinion, and we're gonna talk in depth over the next 20 minutes or so.
Is this your humble opinion, Andy, as you might say?
Humble? No, it's the direct opinion. That, and marketing is one of those things where, let's be honest, it's massively essential to do because we've got to get bums on seats, as the old scenario says.
Yeah.
The other caveat to that is it can be massively time consuming and it can be massively expensive. If not, it has to be done very often. It has to be done consistent.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of emphasis on marketing, and rightly so. Now, one of the reasons why I think we're going to hopefully expand and discuss through this is where I feel a lot of small businesses in all entities. So we talk a lot in the therapy world, but I think across a lot of different businesses is they spend a lot of this time, effort and energy on their marketing, but actually forget about the customer service element of when a customer arrives. So,
absolutely.
And that's the part for me where I think, so for me, when we talk around a journey, when we're working with a business, one of the last things we do is look at the marketing, because it comes down to, you want a customer to come in to any business, in therapy business, they're called patients or clients, aren't they? Okay.
Yeah.
And you want them to not only turn up and have a good experience and correct a great outcome and leave, skipping and jumping if you've got rid of their pain or their injury, but also wanting them to be going to tell their friends and family.
Yeah.
And I think it's a really important element that, especially newer businesses, that they forget to think about, right, okay, so what is the customer journey going to look like? What is the whole customer process? How do we help a customer move from one step to another? How do we look to see how well we're doing with our clients, our customers? And then once we can ensure that, that's when we can be comfortable, in my opinion, to really start revving up the marketing. Because I think one of the things that unfortunately we've seen in several therapy businesses over the years is that really doing well at getting customers, but then can't retain them. Yeah. And I think that then, is part of it. So again, I'm just going to throw that out there to start, that, it's not that marketing isn't important, because it certainly is. And it's certainly very complex. And there's lots of marketing experts out there that are very happy to take your money. Yeah. But if you can't then get return on your money, because we're a business, we have to talk about money, because we have a customer doesn't get the service that you intend to want when it arrives in your business, then unfortunately we have a very expensive kind of expense, in the sense of money keeps going out to increase the marketing, but actually customers aren't retaining, and so we're never getting any return on our investment.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that so many of the conversations we've had in recent times, and looking back in the time that we've been working together and supporting therapy businesses, that marketing seems to be the number one topic of conversation. I need a funky looking website. I need to generate loads of leads. It's all about posting content, recording videos. TikTok's on the horizon now, and it all seems so random in terms of, I guess it's as a consumer of somebody else's marketing plan. In terms of what we see on social media, it kind of drives business owners, therapy business owners' behavior to think, I need to be doing this, as if it's the whole thing. I guess, posting content is it. Having a website is it, and that will in and of itself generate the kind of customer flow, client flow that I need within the business. And that's not really our experience, is it?
Well, if you think about, let's use social media as a way, like you've said, everyone is posting content on Instagram. People are posting content on, TikTok and Facebook and all. Okay. So rightly so, because it's, free to do, in the sense of you can post it on if you use some general hashtags. I guess for me and my experiences, one, if the people following you aren't in your local demographic. So let's say, we're both recording this in our northern town of Clitheroe. Yeah. Okay. So, and, if I've got a clinic locally and I'm going to post some content and somebody in London sees me giving 3 best exercises for the knee, there's a high probability they aren't going to get on a 2-hour train to Preston and then get another train to Blackburn and then to Clitheroe, which is probably going to take them 3.5 hours to come to an hour appointment. Okay. They might do my exercises that I've recommended, but then they're going to go and find somebody locally. Is that a fair assumption? Unless you are phenomenally brilliant, right?
Unless, of course, it's a guy like you, Andy, when people will travel miles to see you.
Obviously, Phil. And then I would be saying, when they book the appointment, don't be daft, go around the corner, because what a waste of time that is. But people locally following you will be customers that you have already done a good job on.
Yeah.
So, which is great, but it comes back to my point of, you've got to do a good job with your customers. So the first thing you've got to be able to do is ensure that every customer that joins your organization, you can really support them achieve their outcomes, and that you can turn them in the old Clem Blanchard's raving fans scenario that they want to, because it's more likely that the content that you share, they're going to comment on, or they're going to share it, which to their followers, and that's how you can get it. So I think, but it comes back to, again, what you said before, is about having a plan. It's about, what am I using this content for, and how is this going to help my growth and my strategy towards it? And again, what interesting, if we stay in the therapy world, if you're new to listening to me and Phil, you may not have known this if you've heard me talk before. One of my bugbears about the therapy world is this question of going, what is it that we sell?
Yeah.
We walk into a coffee shop, we know what they sell, because there's about 8 million different variations, isn't there, of, the combinations of what you can have.
Some people that buy, some people I'm stood in the queue behind ordering coffees, I've no idea. There seems to be 27 different things going into a coffee. I thought, coffee's a coffee, isn't it? Obviously not.
Well, I don't even have milk.
But that's down to marketing, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't even have milk in mine, so I'm not the most boringest person in the world. It's so, again, it's, if you know what your product is, what is the product that you're trying to sell? Because if you don't understand the product you're trying to sell, then how you market, what are you marketing?
Yeah.
What is your plan to be able to get this? And that for me is, that takes time to come back and understand in your business. Well, what is it do we sell? If you're a coffee shop, you're a jeans shop, you sell jeans, you market the different types of jeans. It's kind of an easy thing. In the therapy world, what is it? Well,
it's the whole idea, presumably. I mean, we've talked about this on previous podcasts, haven't we? From a clinical context, the whole idea of even selling anything for some people can be a difficult concept, because we don't sell. We're almost like a kind of extension of the the NHS, so and they don't sell anything. So it's about therapy and recovery. It's not selling, but of course, in a private clinic, we have to look down a different lens in a sense. Otherwise, everybody are going to walk past our clinic and go to the one that is clear about what their offer is and how we can help the individual to improve.
Massively, Phil, and also there's the element of, as a business, we need to be able to be comfortable with getting return on what our value is. What shall we charge? What's the right price to charge for our time? So there's no point being brilliant at, putting loads of effort into your marketing, and when a customer comes actually undervaluing yourself and don't charge him for it, because then you just are a fantastic charity. So I think that, which, there are some really good free rehab services out there. We don't, so that's, I think for me, it's when it comes to marketing, to come back to it, it's only really push your marketing when you're comfortable that you have a good customer journey, a good customer experience. And if you're newer to business, definitely where I would start. Yeah. Especially when we're talking to startups, it's those conversations of going, especially if you're even in a job, if you're listening to this, thinking about setting up a business and thinking about where you want to go, but you're already employed by somebody, the one thing I would be doing is getting my little black book out and writing down, what does that customer journey look like? What are current patients in the business that you're in? What is in business that they call it workflow? So what's next in the, how do we take payment? How does a customer get rebooked? How do we send them exercises? That whole experience that builds in a client's world, the whole service around it, because that's fundamentally what's then going to give them a good experience that's going to want them to either come back if they re-injure or expand on it. Yeah. And then once you're comfortable with that, then you can start really ramping it up. And I also think that when it comes to marketing, that if you need to get yourself out there, so if you've got a little budget or little time, then social media is a way, but think about old school. There's nothing wrong with turning up to a local business meeting and getting a bacon butty and standing in front of 40 people to say, oh, just to let you know, I've opened up a therapy clinic around the corner. Do you know anybody in your offices that's got a bad back? Or is anyone complaining that they keep, they're always grabbing hold of their neck because they're sat at a desk all the time? I'd love to help them. We all know that person, and you've got 40 people you're directly having a conversation with, rather than putting it on social media and doing this. So I certainly think what you've got to do is sit down, look at, once you've done that, and look at a plan and go, right, how's the best way to get myself to get myself in front of people to introduce myself. And if you're at the larger end of the scale of a business, then certainly, looking at digital marketing is certainly a real good strength, because there's lots of good people out there.
Absolutely. It feels like the time that I might talk about the circus momentarily, you think, just to put it all in context?
I think this is a brilliant way to kind of just summarize what we've talked about.
Yeah, because I often struggle with thinking in my own world about marketing. And I suppose I alluded to it earlier on in the conversation in terms of we see a lot of stuff advertised, be it, a leaflet or a flyer through the door, an advert in a magazine, something we're hit with on social media, something on the TV, something we hear on the radio, or as we're going to hear a little bit later, something on a podcast. And as we were preparing for this conversation, I started to think back to a book I'd looked at a while ago. The good news is the sun's coming out in Clitheroe. You can probably just catch it on the video if you're watching by video. If you're on a podcast, don't worry about it. But I just keep moving around on the video. And if you wonder what I'm doing, it's because I'm trying to avoid getting a stripy face. The book, anyways, the one-page marketing plan by Alan Dibb, D-I-B. A great way to get into the process. And I was talking to Andy about this just before we started, and he comes up with a great little analogy of what is marketing. And he starts with saying some people think marketing and advertising or brand is something of a rather vague concept. And he uses the idea of a circus. So he's saying, and I'll just kind of look down because I've actually got the book with me here. It's zooming in and out on because I got my blurred background on. Again, if you're on podcast, don't worry about it. So it says the circus is coming to town, and you paint a sign saying circus is coming to town. Showground on Saturday. That's advertising. If you put the sign on the back of an elephant and walk it through the town, then that's promotion. If the elephant happens to walk through the mayor's flower beds and the local newspaper or radio pick it up and talk about it or write about it, that's promotion. If all of the citizens in the town see the various elements of that activity and they buy a ticket and turn up to the show, that's sales. And if you plan all of that from end to end, that's marketing. And I guess that's where we started our conversation at the beginning of the podcast in terms of what is marketing. And I think it's really interesting that it's the essential that all of those components comprise a marketing plan for your therapy business. And yet we tend to think about it as one or two aspects of that plan and then wonder why things don't work.
Yeah. And I think that's and I certainly think that summarizes things really, really nicely, and that is why when we're with any business, we make these plans, and if you are looking at this and not knowing where to start, then I'm going to make a quick plug. So what we have created is, so if you're familiar with us, then we've been talking about our 10-step process for several years. It's a process that I've been very fortunate to share with businesses all over the world, and it's something they've been doing well. What we've now got is a one-off product. So it's dead easy to watch it at home. It's an online. We've got the link below, so you can click and have a look. You'll see a free overview video, so you can obviously get a taste and a feel for what it's all about. But what that hopefully will do is help guide you, put some good frameworks in so that you are strong, so that when you sit down and look at your marketing or create your marketing plan, you've got this really strong framework to then rely upon to help make sure that whatever marketing you do, you then create some really successful customers and raving fans. And I think it's important that Phil, what you've just, that snippet that you've done, that people hopefully sit back and take some time before rushing to just post a video. I haven't posted anything for ages. Let's post it. Why? What are you getting from it? You'd be better searching a local business group and saying, can I go and have a bacon butty and have a chat with somebody, or, having a coffee with somebody and having this conversation. So
yeah,
I think
or volunteering or getting connected with a sporting club or something like that actually then generates. There's this thing called six stages of separation, isn't there?
Yeah, massively. And we talk about this in the 10-step thing when we look at marketing. We talk about individuals versus influencers, and we actually discuss that in quite detail about where to spend your time, effort, and energy. If you're a smaller business, if you've just won the lottery and you're cash rich, fantastic. Go and get a really fancy agency to really push it out. If you're time poor because you're always treating, if you're not as massively cash rich or cash flow isn't fantastic because you are a smaller business, then certainly taking the time to seek to understand what it is you're looking to do and how to do it well and where's best to your time, effort and resources, I think is certainly something which I would advise. Now, we've got to know a bit more. We've got an upcoming webinar, Phil.
Yeah, on the 16th of September at 7 o'clock.
So 16th of September, 7 o'clock. we're going to be doing a webinar where you can obviously we'll be live, me and Phil in the room, where you can come and ask us questions. You can pick our brains, and the two of us will be kind of discussing more around this process. So we'd love to get you to join us as well.
Yeah, so take a look on Eventbrite. Have a look on social media. So Elevate Your Clinic podcast. You've already found us as the treatment room, and we look forward to seeing you at the webinar on 16th of September.
Fantastic. Thank you. And again, if you've got any questions or comments, please feel free to add them below.
So until next time, Andy.
See you soon, Phil.